Appreciate everyone being here in spite of the bad weather we've experienced today. Looks like everybody here has good tires or tire change or whatever, good snow shovels. Would you please rise for a moment of silent prayer, followed by the pledge of allegiance to our nation's flag. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Does anyone sign in for public comment, Lauren?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Or Amy, I'm sorry.
We'd like to remind the speakers to please state your name and your municipality of residence, and we'll give you 3 minutes to speak. First is David Fowler.
Could we replace that with Bonnie Chapel?
Certainly. Bonnie Chapel.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Bonnie.
I'm Bonnie Chapel, and I live in Adams Township, lifelong resident. But I'm here today to represent Glade Run Lake Conservancy. And we are a conservancy that has been established to restore Glade Run Lake, a 52-acre lake in Middlesex Township, which brings in, according to the Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission, about $1.6 million per year to the region. This is just not a localized lake, this is a regional lake. We're here, we're working very hard to restore this lake. We have engineering studies and drawings that are completed, we are shovel ready. We've also started the process of getting our permits for the dredging that needs to be done. The board of Glade Run Lake Conservancy and our members would just like to thank the Butler County Commissioners for their most generous support of our cause. You've been behind us from the beginning, and we do appreciate that. We believe that we are ever closer to securing the funds necessary for the restoration. We're just here to remind everybody that we're still here. Thank you. I'd also like to introduce Dave Fowler, a member of our board of Glade Run Lake Conservancy, and he has a presentation.
Mr. Fowler.
I'm David Fowler, Middlesex Township, and here to speak on behalf of Glade Run Lake. First of all, I'd like to thank all of the fine people that set up all of the community events that the Glade Run Lake Conservancy participated in last year. We participated in the Saxonburg Firemen's Festival, the Big Butler Fair. Jim Lochheiser should be noted in that event. The Farm Show, Cranberry Days, Rod Father's Hot Rod Show, Penn Township Community Days. They did a great job out there. Ryan Ellis, a big supporter of Glade Run Lake and his community days at the Farm Show, the Saxonburg Art Festival, Mars Apple Fest, and a number of others. And all of those people and the support of our community really need to get recognition. But during those festivals, and the Conservancy had a chance to talk to thousands of people. And you can't believe the number of people that came up to us and said, I learned how to fish at Glade Run Lake, and I want my grandchildren to learn how to fish there. I want my children to learn how to fish there. And if we could do that, then we've done our part, and future generations will look kindly on us. What I'd like to do right now is I'd like to present these to Commissioner McCarrier on behalf of all of the county commissioners, because these are to all of you. There's 1,143 personal letters there in support of restoring Glade Run Lake. And all of those people are from the region. By far the majority of them are Butler County residents, and I think this demonstrates the support of the entire county on this important project, and we thank you for your support, all of the county commissioners. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave. I'll read these in my lunch hour today. One thing before you sit down, Dave.
Yes,
Since we're on television, would you please tell the public how they can support the Glade Run project?
Well, they could become members of the Conservancy. They could also, there's a number of projects that we have. We're working with some Boy Scouts to map the silt in the lake, and any kind of help we can get there. I need some good, strong young bodies to dig some holes for me, and we'll log the silt and get the dredging plan up. They could contact the governor's office, because contacting the governor and Governor Corbett, I know he's behind us, but that will certainly help. And also contact your local state representatives. We have real good support from a number of senators and congressmen in the area, but of course they'd always like to hear from what their constituents have to say.
And you will take money too, won't you?
Oh yes, any time we can get financial support, we're more than happy. We're actually making progress, and right now we've got over 2,000 members. And we've got well over $150,000 in the bank, but that's just a drop. We need 4.2 to complete it. And again, like Bonnie said, the engineering studies are done. All they need is we need funding, and we can start moving dirt, and that lake can be restored.
And who should a person send a contribution to if they so desire?
Please send it to Glade Run Lake Conservancy. And you can look that up on the internet, and it's out. We have a Love Road office that where we take contributions.
But you have a website, and they can find the address on your website.
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you, Dave.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to say this. I really appreciate the fact that he mentioned the senators, but I think Senator White, especially Senator Vlahovic, I've never met him before. He was at their last meeting. He's been truly instrumental in working on this. I'm very thankful that he's done that. And then Don White is going to represent that district after Vlahovic moves out because of doing away with Jane Orey's district. And then Scott Hutchinson, he's right here. And all three senators have been very instrumental in making this happen. I'd just like to thank them for their hard work, okay?
Thank you very much, Jim. Thank you very, very much.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Anyone else, Amy?
Yes, next is Peggy Abersole.
Good morning, Peggy Abersole, Middlesex Township. Just a couple of announcements. This Friday, February 7th, from noon until 6 p.m., and Saturday, February 8th, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Clearview Mall will be the 12th Annual Health, Wealth, Wellness, and More Expo. This year's sponsors are the Butler Health System, the Y, and the Butler Armco Employees Credit Union. Aren't you curious to find out what the more is all about? Get out, get active, and get healthy, and hope to see you there. Also, this Saturday, February 8th, the Butler County Symphony will be performing Celestial Fantasy. The performance begins at 7:30 at the Butler Intermediate High School. Guest soloist will be pianist Igor Lipinski. Given the stretch of winter weather Butler has been experiencing, get out for an evening when the music will allow you to escape from the winter blues. Also, this will be for February 14th. If you like roast beef, the North Washington Volunteer Fire Department's Ladies Auxiliary will be holding a roast beef dinner. Since the date is also Valentine's Day, it will be a nice evening out. Take your sweetheart to dinner, and for information, you can call 724-894-2807. And just one follow-up on the Glade Run Lake Conservancy. They're always taking memberships, and the memberships are at a very nominal amount of $10 per person.
Correct, for $20 per family.
Thank you.
Next.
Next is Mark Kernitsky.
Hi, Mark, Commissioners. What's your name this morning? I'm getting here. I do like the idea of giving money to Glade Run. We saw that on the agenda last night. I thought that was great. Another thing I liked, Ben told me about this, our controller told me that our travel costs have gone down a lot. And I think we have Commissioner Eckstein to think about it. Thanks for that. That was his big thing, was travel costs. Yeah, I was talking to, actually about you last night, Ben. John Lotto used to be principal at the high school. Ben used to do yard work for him, I guess, a while ago. And he had very nice things to say about that. He really did. John used to work at the golf course too, as our ranger. I want to talk about, a little bit about the 3% wage increase. You know, I thought 1.5 would have been good. The numbers came out on Monday. We actually had deflation for last year. The CPI, or Consumer Price Index, ran at a negative 0.1%. So even if you got a 0 raise, you got a raise. So, and I also looked up the 2009 census. The average person that lives in the city of Butler makes a little over $30,000 a year. Okay, which we're in the city of Butler here. Commissioner Pinkerton had told me when you include benefits, our lowest paid employee here for the county is more like about 50,000, I believe is what you said, Commissioner. Is what they make in a year. I won't say what the high is this. And we talked about responsibilities, and you said some of the employees have a lot of responsibilities for what they're paid. The mayor of Butler, and I think he is severely underpaid, he only receives $10,000 a year. He's in charge of the fire department, the police department, and the road department, and any other services the city does. Governor Corbett, I was reading about him on Sunday, said there was a time when government employees weren't paid very much, and there was. However, now that's not the case now. Let's see, I'm getting there. Bear with me. I know I'm getting one more thing. And, you know, I said I wanted to give the county employees a raise. I still want to do it. Jim did too. 1.5% I thought was great. And one of the reasons I thought that would be a good amount was it's going to put us in a better position when it comes time to negotiate with the union and say, hey, Jim talked me into that one, to be quite honest. He said, hey, looks like we're taking the sacrifice first with the man.
That's time. Time is up, Mark.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your comments.
I'd like to say this about Mark's comments. I do agree travel costs are down, and I'd like to give you an example, and it's not hard to change. The sheriff and one of his deputies went on a trip, and they cut the cost by making a few slight adjustments by over 1/3. So I'd like to compliment him for that, but a lot of employees have done that. I mean, obviously, I can sit up here and say my piece, but unless, like the sheriff and Bob Karenbauer did that, I really appreciate that, them going that extra mile to save that 1/3 or 50%. I mean, they made some minor adjustments and saved 1/3. I'm proud of that, and lots of employees have done that. I'm very thankful for that. Thank you very much.
Anyone else, Amy?
That's all, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we'll move on to approval of our minutes. We had meetings on January 17th and January 22nd.
I'll make the motion.
Is there a motion? We have a motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second? I will second it. Those in favor of the motion?
I had a comment on that.
Okay.
I'd like, the one thing in the minutes, on section, in the actual
Which
minutes,
meeting?
section I,
Which
the
meeting?
second one, the Wednesday meeting. And that would be HI, yeah, I.
Which
Right there.
which item?
First item, Commissioner Eckstein questioned, the line I don't like is Commissioner Eckstein questioned the process by which this company was chosen. That's really vague. I mean, basically, we didn't vote on that. Why don't they just put in the minutes that the process by which this company was chosen was the county commissioners didn't vote on that in public? Okay, I mean, the process is we didn't vote on it. I guess they were anointed. I mean, I think that's not that's the process I thought we should vote on as county commissioners in public.
And we did vote on it. Is that
We
correct,
did?
Mike?
You sat there and voted on it in the meeting, that's what he's
Yes.
talking about. That was the vote.
That was
We
the vote.
voted to pick 360?
Yes.
You voted to appoint Commissioner McCarrier to negotiate with 360. That's what the meeting minutes reflect.
Well, I didn't vote, but,
Well, you, I speak of the board collectively.
okay.
We voted to pick that company, and negotiate with them. I mean, the motion doesn't say we voted to pick them, but we voted to start negotiations with them. You wouldn't start negotiating with a company that you didn't pick,
Oh, okay.
okay?
And they haven't been picked until there's a deal. in the legal sense.
Well, we selected them out of 5. You'll have to repeat that.
You chose to negotiate
Somehow
with
we
that
got from
party.
5 to 1.
Right.
Without
Right,
voting on it.
at that public
We did
meeting.
vote on it.
Okay.
All right, all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No. I'm no on that, okay, I
Okay.
apologize.
Old business.
Yes, sir, we do have an item under old business. It's related to emergency services, and I'd like to call Steve Bycap to the podium for that, and then he'll continue with the first item under new business as well. Steve?
Good morning, Commissioners. Under old business, I'm requesting approval to amend the minutes from the December 4th, 2013 public meeting to reflect the correct renewal rates for the tower sites, which we signed new contracts to lease our tower, 5 of our tower sites. We incorrectly said it would be, the rates would be $1,250.18. Actually, the rates will be $1,287.69 for 4 of the tower sites. And then the 5th tower site will be $1,188.65. So I ask for your approval to correct this.
I'd like to make that motion.
Is there a second? Question, Steve, we have more than those sites, don't we?
Correct. We have additional leases through GTP, which is Global Sun Trust, and then we have another lease through Consolidated Communications, and then we actually own a couple of our towers. We own them with Washington Tower that we use.
We have 10 sites, is that correct?
Correct, 10 sites throughout the county.
But those other sites are not under this contract?
No.
All right.
So,
I was a little, I read that this morning just now, I was a little unclear in that.
And since we had the contracts on file, we went ahead.
I'm sorry, Ben, you can't talk. Okay, is there, we had a motion and a second. Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
okay, under new business, I have a few items for your consideration. Item number 1 is to, for your approval to submit our application to PEMA for the 2014-2015 wireless funds. As you know, this fund has been in a state of flux. They're trying to rewrite the legislation currently. They have extended it out through the end of this year. We have no idea how much money that they're going to allocate. We do know that they are looking at funding priorities, which we are involved in with the Westport project and some other projects we have upcoming. So hopefully that'll help us to obtain the monies we need. So I ask for your approval to submit that.
Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second? Discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
Item number 2 I have for your consideration is to apply to PEMA for an amendment to the staffing plan for the Emergency Management Performance Grant. As you recall, last meeting I asked for your approval to submit that application. Currently there are 2 funded positions through PEMA, the Emergency Management Coordinator position, my position, and then a Clerk Typist 2 position, which is currently vacant. I want to amend that staffing pattern in the eyes of PEMA, has no bearing on our department, to submit for our Planner 1 position to be covered under the Emergency Management Performance Grant. It makes sense, it falls in line with the emergency management side of my office, and also, if approved, would result in additional reimbursement to the county. So I ask your approval for that.
I'd like to make that motion.
Is there a second? Discussion?
And I'd just like to thank Steve for thinking of this. I think that was really important. So I appreciate you trying to save us money here, okay?
Thank you.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
And the third item I have for your consideration is approval to reappoint all of the members of the local emergency planning committee to terms ending January 31st, 2017. I have the list here if you'd like me to read it, or I can submit it. It's quite an extensive list.
Did we read that, Mike?
As long as that list is incorporated in the minutes, you don't need to read it, and the motion is accurately reflected in the minutes.
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries, and please give our thanks to those folks who are willing to serve.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, Commissioners.
Next, under the Sheriff's Office, Mark Pepper.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Mark.
I come before you today seeking your approval and endorsement of an application to the PCCD, the Lethality Information File Exchange Program, basically funding for that program. It's a $4,000 proposed program which will be fully funded by this grant if approved by them. and issued to us as a county. This would fund programmatic and data changes, updating our existing abilities to collect lethality information and then distribute it to law enforcement officers in the field. I feel this could be a very vital piece, another nugget of information to my brother and sister officers in this county, and enhance what we're already doing in the sheriff's office, kind of uniquely within our sheriff's office. For the past 4 years, we have collected lethality assessments during the application for protection from abuse orders. We do this daily within our office. Right now it's done manually, and when we see a correlation with a threat to a specific area, we forward it to that police department or the affected party. We would like to collect this data, or this program actually helps us collect the data electronically, very simply, and then securely forwarding it to the 911 center, our communication center, or redispatch when applicable to the officers in the field, doing so automatically. So theoretically, if we had a problem with a person in the Harrisville area that we're aware of, theoretically again, and they get pulled over for a stop sign violation in Middlesex, that officer would know in Middlesex right away that an assessment had been done, that there's any specific threats that they should be aware of as they approach that specific person. This would not be considered probable cause for an arrest or a search. It would just let that officer be a little bit better prepared when they're making the initial contact, and then they can evaluate it case by case as they make that. We're hoping that the LIFE, as I'm referring to, a program would accomplish this. I'm seeking your approval to seek funding for this.
Is there a motion to that effect?
I'll gladly make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
I think this is a wonderful thing, Mark, because I can't imagine what goes through an officer's mind when he pulls a car over, especially at night, and starts walking up to that car, and this will help ensure his safety in those situations.
That's our goal, Commissioner.
Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
Gentlemen, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mark.
Next, under Human Services, Area Agency on Aging, Beth Harrell.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Hi, Barb.
This morning I have 3 items. The first item is a contract renewal with Pitney Bowes. We're requesting the board's approval to renew the agreement with Pitney Bowes for 60 additional months. There'll be no addition or change in equipment, and the lease rate will be decreased by $6.16 per month. And the funding is provided through the Aging Block Grant. There are no county funds, and this is for postage.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second? Second. Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The second item that I'm requesting is the board's approval to issue a request for proposal for exterminating services. While investigating various cases, our protective service staff, as well as our care management staff, has seen a need for insect and rodent extermination services for residents in the county. The funds will be covered by Aging Block Grant, and no county funds are involved.
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second that.
Discussion? Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
And the third item is to enter into a contract with United Way. Butler County Area Agency on Aging is requesting the approval for a contract between the agency and the United Way of Butler to disperse block grant funding for heating and fuel assistance to the older adults of Butler County. As you know, our older adults have been faced with higher heating costs as a result of the severe winter weather. United Way manages the Butler Emergency Relief Initiative. This program has been shown to implement best practices in helping consumers through energy utility issues. The United Way is positioned to identify the older adults in need of heating fuel assistance, and this partnership will allow the older adults of Butler County to receive the assistance they need to be able to maintain in their residence.
Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second that. I'd like to ask Beth a question. How much money is available there?
$30,000.
$30,000,
Yes.
okay.
Do you consider that a sufficient amount for your caseload?
We are able, at the end, if we go through the 30,000 so quickly, that we can ask for additional funding, and hopefully that will be approved.
Thank you. Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Beth.
Next, under Planning Commission, Dave Johnston.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning, Dave.
I'm here this morning with Jim Ayers. Jim is involved with the Zillionople PA Revitalization Incorporated group that's working on trying to revitalize the downtown in Zillionople. And that's why I'm here this morning requesting approval of 2 items. One is consideration resolution 2014-02, entering into a cooperation agreement between the county and Zillionople Borough for their revitalization and economic development project. And specifically what that is authorizing us to enter into a cooperation agreement with them where they make application through the Redevelopment Assistance Capital Program, otherwise known as the RACP program. And they have an authorization number 2004-40 in the amount of $3,875,000 for the acquisition, construction, and renovation of Main Street corridor as part of their central business district. They have previously applied about a year ago for funding, and they did not receive that funding. They're going back to the Commonwealth and making application for additional funding.
Okay, are we considering both of these items in one motion?
I'd like to just consider that first one.
First item,
the
okay.
resolution.
Is there a motion to?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second? I will second it. Discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to say this. I voted for the original motion, but this goes to how I feel as a person. I feel how I got elected. I'm all for the original Zilli revitalization program. I voted for it the first time. Basically, the way I understand it, they added $1 million to this from public money to redo the Kaufman Hotel and the property surrounding it. Look, I'm not for taking public money. The Kaufman House they're going against private enterprise. I am not for this. You know, I thought the revitalization program was terrific. I wish it would have got approved last year. There's nobody here that's, I went to Seneca Valley Medical, had a Main Street Silly store. I think it would have benefited. The difference between this and the old program is I felt that the revitalization would have helped all the businesses on Main Street Silly, and that we weren't segregating one out. I'm not going to vote for this because I'm not going to give $1 million for one building to revitalize it. I can't do it. That's not a good use of taxpayers' money. I'm going to vote no on this. And I also would like to say this. Look, I don't think tourism ought to be involved with this. Tourism's job is not building revitalization. Now, I know they pulled a trick here. They picked I forget what it's called. It's not exactly through tourism. It's maybe somebody could help me here. It's their,
They have a foundation.
They have a foundation. Thank you very much, Bill. They have a foundation. But I just look at that, I don't think tourism, Jack Cohen does a good job, but I don't think he ought to be involved in this. But to put the bottom line is, I'm not for government competing with area businesses in the hotel business or restaurant business, and I think this $1 million could be used otherwise areas. Thank you very much.
First of all, as Jim mentioned, this is being initiated by the foundation, which is private money going into the Tourism Bureau for the most part. The Tourism Bureau's foundation was started when a former resident of Butler County, who was an attorney here, and he went on to become a partner in the largest law firm in the world, as a matter of fact. But he came to Butler, I believe it was last year during the Jeep Festival. He looked at a lot of the old buildings in Butler County, and he said, these buildings ought to be restored. They're historic landmarks. So he was the one that gave the initial contribution to the Tourism Bureau for their foundation. Now, Commissioner Eckstein says he's in favor of benefiting all of the businesses in Zillionople. I believe that if this hotel is restored, we're taking an eyesore away from downtown Zillionople and making it into a beautiful landmark like it originally was. And this will benefit all of the businesses in Zillionople. And as far as it competing with private industry, I don't believe it will. I believe it's going to be leased to a private firm to operate. Is that correct? That's the plan. Once it's restored, it will be leased out to a private organization to operate. But it will benefit all of Butler County, just as the Glade Run project does. Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Motion carries.
The second item is the cooperation agreement, and it's a lengthy document, but what I'd like to do is specifically hone in on what the county's agreeing to under that. First of all, there is no financial obligation to the county. Commissioner Eckstein is correct in that they are working through that foundation and the redevelopment authority of the county to try to assist in renovating the Kaufman House. But This agreement, cooperation agreement, requires the county to assist the borough, which we have done in the filing of an application for RACP funding. And it does include $1 million for the Coffin House renovation. If a lesser amount is received, then they're talking about a split 74% for infrastructure improvements of that million and 26 for the Coffin House renovation. So they are acknowledging that if in the event they get a reduction in that funding, that the majority, 3/4 of it, will go towards infrastructure improvements in Zillionola Borough. Also, under the former placeholder, which was approved in 2004, which is $1 million, that's what they're talking about as far as the Coffin House amount. That goes away in June. They have a shelf life of 10 years. So if funding is not received this time for that program, that placeholder goes away. And finally, to assist with the borough, their consultants, EG&G, and their revitalization committee on filing this paperwork, which we have done in the past, just the first time around, and then didn't include the Coffin House, to assist them in getting this paperwork in. So that's what the cooperation agreement is.
Okay, is there a motion to approve this agreement?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second? I will second it.
I have a question for Dave. If I vote yes on this, I don't want to mess this up, and I'm just a little bit mixed up. Did you say that if they don't get all the money, the Coffin House would be put on the back burner, or?
Well, they have if I could, I'll read that, just so that I can, they had received, they used the county's placeholder back in 2004, the last time they had applied for funding, because they didn't have one of their own, and it was a generic revitalization of the downtown. This time, in November of last year, the Zillionola Borough was successful in getting their own authorization. Not that they're going to get funded, but at least they have an authorization of $3.9 million. 2.9 for infrastructure improvements, enhancements and parking, and $1 million for the Coffin House renovation. If a lesser grant award amount is awarded, the grant fund will be allocated on a basis of 74% for the improvements to the downtown and 26 for the Coffin House renovation.
Okay.
Then, under the other one, which again goes away in June, of $1 million, if a lesser amount is awarded, the grant amount will be allocated on a percentage basis of 50-50. 50% for the downtown improvements and 50% for the Coffin.
Okay, thanks.
All right, those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
The motion carries.
Thank you.
Next, under the CDBG program, Wendy Leslie.
Morning,
How
Commissioners.
about this?
I have one item for your consideration. We're asking approval to advertise for requests for proposals for engineering services for the Community Development Block Grant Program. The awarded contract would be for a period of 3 years, and of course the county would have the option to extend if we wish to do so. The proposals will be due into the County Controller's Office by 2 p.m. on Friday, February 28th, and opened at the agenda setting on Monday, March 3rd. All this information will be put into the advertisement, which will run in the Butler Eagle at least twice. The current contract for services is with Widmer Engineering in Beaver Falls, and that will expire on March 11th of this year. And I just want to make note to the board that it's not that we're disappointed with Widmer in any way. With everything that they've done for us has been wonderful. It's just that this contract has run its time, and it's time to get this back out for RFP. All engineering services will be paid through the CDBG grant, so there's no county dollars involved. We do have to, by one of the requirements of the grant, we have to have a contracted engineer available for projects. So we're asking for your approval to do the advertising.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second it.
Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you.
That was an aye for me. I said it real loud. I didn't say it out loud.
For the first item under Commissioners, I'd like to call John Campbell to the podium. This is for the approval to award a professional services contract for engineering services, generator sizing specifications, and gas line specifications for the separation of utilities at the Sunnyview complex. And Mr. Campbell is here for further explanation and to answer any questions. Would you like your motion, please?
Good morning, Mr. Commissioners. I've got proposals from 4 different engineering firms in the local area. I think one was from Pittsburgh. There was Nagley Design Incorporated from Portersville, Loftus Engineering, Stantec, and LLI Engineering. These specifications are required by T.W. Phillips for sizing and code review for the township. Making a recommendation to go with Nagley Design in the amount of $3,670 with an $85 an hour per rate for anything out of the scope of work, and if site visits are required, it would be $85 an hour at a where rate.
Can you put that price again, please?
$3,670.
Okay.
For the initial scope of work.
I'll make the motion. The rest of them were considerably more than that figure too.
Yes, they were over $10,000.
Okay.
Is there a second to the motion? I will second it. John, you've checked out each of these firms and they are qualified to do this work?
Yes, they all have engineering stamps.
Okay. Discussion? Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
The motion carries.
Permission to be excused?
You're excused.
The next 2 items relate to the Sheets project, and for those, I will turn these over to Solicitor Mike English.
Unless Dave wants to do it. These are developers' agreements. It's a developer's agreement, the stormwater agreement, in connection with the county's lease with Sheets to build a store up on the hill there on the corner, the Sunnyview property. I reviewed them, Dave's reviewed them. They're standard agreements with indemnity provisions to protect the county, and we would recommend approval.
So the first item is the approval of the developers agreement. We'd like your motion, please.
Is there a motion to approve for that?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The motion carries.
And the second item is approval of the stormwater management facilities operation and maintenance agreement between Sheets, the county, and Butler Township.
Is there a motion to that effect?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The motion carries.
The next item, we're asking your approval to appoint Rick McLean of Butler to the Joint Operating Committee for the Public Safety Training Facility at BC3. This is a 3-year term from January 1st, 2014 through December 31st, 2016. We ask your approval.
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And our last item, we're asking for your adoption of Resolution 2014-03 to set aside funds from the county's Marcellus Legacy Fund distributions as a contribution to the Glade Run Lake Conservancy. And gentlemen, this is $55,000 that will be set aside in 2014 and $55,000 set aside in 2015 from the Marcellus Legacy Fund distributions that the county receives. And it will be set aside in a restricted fund designated for the Glade Run Lake Conservancy to be distributed upon notification to the county that the construction of the restoration of the dam has commenced, and it also can be used as matching funds for any grant application process related to the construction and restoration of the dam.
Is there a motion to adopt this resolution?
I'd like to make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Discussion?
Discussion, I'd like to say this. I haven't, you know, this group is really a special group. I'd like to commend how much they've done. The president can't be here today, but Ziggy is a very, everybody in this is really just doing an all-out effort, and I'm very proud of them. I've been to a lot of the meetings, and if anybody gave 100% or more, these people have, and the community can be proud of them, and they're doing it for the whole community, just not right there in Middlesex, but the whole surrounding area. So They're doing it for my kids, and I really appreciate what they've done and their, all the effort they've put forth. Thank you very much, okay?
When this project comes to fruition, which I'm sure it will, because of this group and because of principally Senator Balakovich, it'll be because of the work that this group did initially to begin the project, and if it hadn't been for the hard work and the tenacity of this group, it would never have come as far as it has come. And we appreciate what you're doing on behalf of all of Butler County. I would say these legacy funds are from the Act 13 funds, Marcellus Shale funds, and they can only be used for purposes such as this, for parks, trails, and recreation areas. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
That's all for new business.
Motion to approve the budgetary transfers. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? A motion to approve the new hires. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. A motion to approve the travel requests.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to approve the check, or approve the requisitions.
So moved.
Is there a second? I'll second it. Those in favor of the motion?
Wait a minute, I'd like to
Okay.
discuss about this.
All right.
This week through requisitions, it popped up, requisitions. I disagree with the other two commissioners on this. What you're not hearing, they're basically getting 3 new vehicles for assessment around a little over $72,000. I disagree with this. You know, one of the cars had 80,000 miles on it and 7 years old. I don't know the exact quotes, but you know, I drive 2 vehicles with over 150,000 miles on that. I am not recommending that to the county, but not having 100,000 miles or 10 years, which is our goal at the county, 100,000 miles or 10 years old, doesn't suit me. And there was ways we could do, instead of buying 3 new vehicles, we had options of maybe exchanging one of these cars with a mailroom vehicle, which only has 55,000 miles on it, or maybe one of the vans from CYS. And I think these were viable alternatives. We don't need to spend money like it's water. You know, we need this money to spend in a lot of different areas. And I do not think this, 3 new vehicles at once, but this again popped up on the agenda. We didn't, we never voted on spending, I never voted on, I guess I'm voting right now, they say, but, it comes up on the agenda. We did talk about it a little bit. I'll give the other commissioners credit for that. They disagreed. This expenditure, geez, it's $72,000. We could delay this for 3 or 4 years and save money. I didn't come to the county to waste money like this. Okay, I did not get elected for that, and there's alternatives. We should have utilized them, and we're not doing it. Okay, so I'm going to vote no on this.
First of all, these vehicles were discussed extensively during our budget hearings. The director of our motor pool and the head of our assessment office recommended this. And again, it gets back to whether we are going to be managers or whether we're going to be micromanagers. We have a man who's run our motor pool for probably 30 years. Very, very qualified person. He has recommended that these vehicles be recycled into another department. These vehicles are not leaving the county. They will still be there, and they will go to a department that doesn't use vehicles as often. So this isn't just throwing $70-some thousand away. This is spending it very prudently for vehicles so that they can be recycled, and then the lower vehicles down the line will be put on the auction block when we have the auction.
I'd like to say one more thing.
Okay.
The head of assessment, Chris Savage, said he was willing to make a compromise, so maybe there's a disagreement here. But I'll commend Chris. He did say he was willing to make a compromise, fully willing to do that. So who makes this decision? I disagree with Chris on that. Yeah, he was very generous, and he said he was willing to take the mailroom car. So, okay. And I don't think every kind of car's got to be a four-wheel drive vehicle either. That's my opinion.
Well, naturally, when the county commissioner comes to you and says, hey, will you do something different, Chris is going to say, All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Motion carries.
No, only on the cars. I did vote yes on the other requisition, okay, if that can be noted. There's a long list of them.
The motion was to approve all the requisitions.
Okay, so then no.
Okay, the motion carries regardless. A motion to approve the check register. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Reports, Jim?
Today, I'd like to do my report on Butler County, like a lot of the Western Pennsylvania region, is trying to cope with the surge in heroin and prescription drug overdoses. We are fortunate to have the Butler County Drug Task Force headed by Tim Fennell, who works in conjunction with state and local law enforcement in dealing head-on with these problems. I applaud their efforts and their brave and diligent actions carried out by Officer Fennell and his Butler County team. They can be proud of those actions. They're protecting all of us. I'd like to focus on a case I read about in a newspaper that happened in Zillionople last week. To me, Zilly is classic middle America. I had friends in that community growing up. I went to Seneca Valley High School, and my uncle Gene had a jewelry store on Main Street. The Zilly Harmony area is a great place to live, work, and go to church. It is a community where the neighbors know and care about each other's children, and through our seniors who live and reside at Passman Center, Health Center there on the outskirts of Zilly. I'd like to speak today about an article read in the Butler Eagle and the alleged action of one April Operman. A 41-year-old mother of four. Operman is currently in our county jail on $100,000 bail for alleged distribution of heroin. Not just heroin, heroin laced with fentanyl, which has caused many deaths in our region. Who was one of April Operman's customers in Zilly for this killer drug? Allegedly, her own 17-year-old daughter was a customer. If true, this kind of person, what kind of person or mother would sell or give their own child heroin or any drug? These actions are beyond belief to 98% of our community. We have two good judges in Butler County's criminal justice system, in Bill Schaefer and Tim McCune. I'm sure they will handle this case judiciously, when I know so many of others of us couldn't because of our emotions and the nature of the alleged facts. This brings us to the next step in the county. Operman has 4 children, 3 of them under 18 years old. This is where children and youth comes in. Did the long-term live-in boyfriend not know drugs were being sold from the house and the kids were witnessing illegal drug use? Do pigs fly? Our frontline children and youth caseworkers see and deal with everything. Drug use, sexual abuse, neglect, prostitution, alcohol abuse, mental illness, and the list goes on. These caseworkers put up with and deal with our society's worst on a day-to-day basis and do the best they can with these issues that most of us couldn't stomach at all. Could the success rate for these children maybe be 1/3? I don't know the answer to that, but these children, a lot of them are, it's a shame. Why do these caseworkers do it? Because they deeply care about the children, and their mission is to save and help as many disadvantaged and abused children as possible. Is it a perfect process? No, it is not. It's always a work in progress because the situations and people keep changing. Every case is different, and being a caseworker is a tough job. What do the leaders and management in Butler County owe their caseworkers? We owe them a fair wage, fair and equal treatment, and support doing their jobs, after which they can go home to their families, husbands, wives, children, and friends for the evening, weekend, and regenerate and try to get their composure back. One of the biggest needs is job security. They need to know if they make a difficult decision on the job, doing their best, due diligence investigation, in the interest of any child, they will not be punished by taking their job away. Butler County failed in their leadership with one of our best and most experienced caseworkers 5 months ago. I'd like to apologize today for that mistake. This exceptional caseworker's name is Lori Kubley. She has 18 years of experience with counseling, social work background, is a military veteran, a former teacher, a social worker with a bachelor's degree from Pitt, and 2 master's degrees. Lori is a union representative and a leader and a role model to her coworkers. She was fired suddenly in August 2013 for helping advise a friend about a troubled child on her day off. I think she should have received an accommodation from the county, not a pink slip. I believe she was put through the ordeal because of a labor grievance she filed and won in 2010 against County Commissioner Dale Pinkerton for reading her personal information on TV. I believe her dismissal was retaliation, pure and simple. Through the arbitration and grievance process, she was reinstated with full back pay and benefits this January after 5 months off work. The arbitrator did not penalize her in any way, not even 1 day off, not even a day off work. This action cost the taxpayers over $40,000 in services and costs. The county and the leadership was wrong in dealing with this case. I thoroughly reviewed her file, I talked to her, I attended hearings, and testified on her behalf. I'm proud of these actions because I knew it was an injustice. She was advising a friend in the best interest of children, and she was doing it on her own time. Why I'm apologizing for what others have done? Because I'm ashamed of their actions, and I don't believe the others will apologize. Yet I think they should. This brings us back to the actions of April Operman and her 3 children's care. Where would the county be without the actions of caring and diligent county employees like Tim Fennell, Lori Kubley, and a lot of their dedicated co-workers? It surely would not be a good place for all of us to live. Thank you for your service to the county and caring about others.
Dale.
I fortunately on Saturday night got to go to Butler Township's Volunteer Fire Department dinner for installing their new officers. And they've taken three different firehouses and put them together, Meridian, Mercer Road, and South Butler. And they did it in about a 6-month to 8-month period of time. They have consolidated and without a doubt have pulled together a group of individuals who have really meshed and are doing a fantastic job. There's 170 brave men and women in that volunteer fire organization. Some of them have more than 200 calls in 1 year that they've gone out on. A lot of them are between 160 and 200. Folks, those people every single day of the year are out there working for you folks. Training. If you added all the 3 stations together, they've trained more than 6,000 hours last year to help you folks out there in our community to have a safe home. So as you see these people out in the community, realize that they get up from Thanksgiving dinner, Christmas dinner, Easter dinner, they get up in the middle of the night, they run, they do everything to make your home safe. So when they do call upon you and ask you to help them, whether financially or maybe you just want to go help them raise money. But you really need, we all need to do as much as we can to help our volunteer firemen and women. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dale. I believe the purpose of this report time that the county commissioners have was originally meant to be a time when county commissioners could report on the boards and the committees they serve on and come back to the other commissioners and the public and report what's going on those boards. Our report time, however, has deteriorated into a time which has often been used in an attempt to discredit employees, elected officials, particularly Dale and I, through vicious, vitriolic tirades. Then Dale and I must oftentimes spend our report time refuting these malicious, derogatory, and unfounded reports and provide the public with the truth. Being criticized is part of holding a public office, no question about that. However, the insinuations and accusations made in this report time have degraded into hellacious attacks. Dale and I have been referred to as lower than pond scum. We have been told that we're on a bullet train to hell. The accusations that have been made have no bounds of civility, professionalism, or even truth. The board has frequently been accused by members of the public as being argumentative and critical toward one another. At the last meeting, I believe the attacks reached a new level of hypocrisy and unprofessionalism when my assistant, Kim Gower, was maliciously berated. It has been repeatedly stated by one commissioner that it's all right for members of the public to attack us as commissioners, but that our assistants and our families should be off limits. A double standard was obviously exhibited when an unjustified and unwarranted attack on my assistant was initiated with an attempt to discredit a loyal, highly qualified, and respected employee of this county. I certainly have no way of knowing what the motives of these attacks are, but I suspect report time is being used as a forum or a re-election campaign in which one candidate hopes to elevate your own candidacy by degrading others. I believe that this should have been done long ago, but we must evaluate the merits of this report time. Does it serve any practical purpose other than a forum for criticism and as entertainment to the public? Many counties do not have a commissioner's report time. Those that do maintain a level of civility, professionalism, and decorum that is usually not found here. The county code does not mandate that we have a commissioner's report time. Ours has digressed into a time to express unfounded opinion of elected officials, county employees, and each other, and to entertain the public with ranting and ravings. During the past 2 years, many employees and elected officials have been unjustly criticized and demoralized, resulting in less work effort and less morale in the county departments. The public meetings are a time for the county to conduct its business. I do not believe that the business of the county has been enhanced by the report time of our commissioners. I believe it is time to consider eliminating the report time from the agenda, and I would ask my fellow commissioners to examine that and to act on it at a future meeting. Tom, you can be first.
Commissioner Eckstein, why did you vote no against the design company for the Sunnyview complex?
Well, I don't think we need to, if I'm not for selling Sunnyview, we don't need to separate the utilities. They have gas now, don't they?
Well, presuming you would get outvoted for a sale at some point, isn't the county going to need this anyway?
Well, they may. I'm not going to spend money before we need to, right?
Wasn't something mentioned before this has to be done first, Commissioner McCarrier, before you could?
Well, you can't sell a building if the utilities are integrated with other buildings on the same premises. They have to be separated.
And what's the status of the appraisal for Sunnyview that's being done?
We have the appraisal.
They do.
Yes.
And the actuarial study on what would need to go into the pension fund, was that completed yet?
We have a recommendation. Ben, can I refer that to you? You were talking to them just recently.
Yeah, I clarified with the actuaries. I don't think they were, they had the same understanding that the retirement board did as it relates to the pension with the employees of Sunnyview. So they have gotten back with us and confirmed the number. They believe that the present value of the future benefit or the actuarial accrued liability as it relates to the Sunnyview workers is roughly around $15 or $16 million.
Is it around what?
$15 or $16 million.
But 85%.
Now remember, we finished the year roughly somewhere around 85% funded.
So roughly, we're talking 15% of that number that you just threw out, right?
That's correct. If you wanted to fully fund.
We're talking maybe $2.25 million.
Thank you, that's all I have.
Kayla.
When you consider eliminating the report time, since it's not mandated by county code, would you have to vote on that, or could you just agree or disagree to take it away?
I believe we would have to vote on it. I'm not sure. I haven't consulted with our solicitor on it.
And how much has the county donated to the Glade Run Lake project in the past?
$4,000 last year.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second? I will second it. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.